Hello, welcome to Mom's Zen Room. I'm Mary. Good to see you guys again. I'm sorry it's been so long. I have no excuses except I've been busy, lazy, fill in the blank. So, but I'm here today. So, today I would like to talk about unconditional love. That's a term that we tend to kind of throw around kind of easily sometimes. And I just want to talk about it a little bit. I know we've talked about unconditional love between parents and children before, and that to me, that's just the easiest way to define it. Because as a mom, there really is nothing that your kids can do that can make you not love them. There are times when you don't love their behavior, and it might actually be hard to like them, but the unconditional love kind of kicks in and gets you through some of those hard times. And I think a lot of times it works the same for parents, for children to their parents, although I think it's much easier for the adult to kind of be unlovable, to disappoint children to the point of not having that unconditional bond. So, something to think about. But unconditional love, I think of, well, first I will always think of God, that the person who taught us how to love unconditionally is really God, because God is love, and that's what I believe. So whatever your beliefs are, for me, that's kind of my foundation of knowing love. And the second place, besides the parent and child aspect of unconditional love, honestly, is your pets. I know it sounds maybe a little silly, but I have learned more about unconditional love from my dogs. One dog in particular, my golden Amber, she was the bestest dog ever. It's just amazing to me how no matter how much you yell or scream or freak out or cry, or if you are behind on every bill, if you're living in the gutter, it doesn't matter. Your behavior does not matter to your dog. They love you. So that kind of unconditional love is, I look to it a lot to kind of remind me, like, am I loving other people like my dog loves me? It's a good question to ask. So I know a lot of times we talk about unconditional love with a spouse or a partner, and I used to think that I think for a while I loved my husband unconditionally. And then stuff happens, and it tests that love. Because let's face it, what is really the definition of unconditional love? Unconditional love is loving somebody when they deserve it and loving somebody when they don't deserve it, and every place in between. Or also being loved unconditionally is having someone else love us when we deserve it, when we don't deserve it, and every place in between. And that's a hard thing to do. And when you have two people in a relationship that are trying to love each other unconditionally, you have to know each other's expectations. Because if you're not meeting the other's expectations, the chances of love being unconditional are definitely put to the test. So if you want to have an unconditional love with your partner that is reciprocated, I highly recommend that you have very authentic, genuine, honest conversations about expectations, about needs, about wants, and really some kind of agreement as to what your expectations are of each other. And that will really help facilitate loving someone, even when, you know, if you have a partner, sorry, segue. If you have a partner who has a really hard time saying, I love you, because maybe they never heard that when they were growing up. Maybe they never heard that as an adult. Maybe they heard it all the time in a previous relationship, but the actions didn't match the words. So for whatever reason, they have a really hard time saying, I love you. And for you, that might really hurt. If you say, I love you to your partner, you want to hear it back. I think a lot of people feel that way. But if you have an understanding with your partner that your partner is very cautious of when they open up and say that, and if you can accept that about your partner, then every time you say, I love you, and they don't say it back, you are exercising unconditional love towards your partner. And it's a gift. That is a gift that we get to give other people, because it's not about what people deserve. It's about what we choose to give to someone. And I'm in an on again, off again relationship with a man who we have very different views on probably what we want in a relationship. And I get to exercise unconditional love for him. And that, to me, that means that when he does something that disappoints me or doesn't do something that I expect him to do, if we haven't had a previous conversation about it, if we don't come to some kind of understanding about what each other expects, then I remind myself I can walk away and exhibit conditional love, or I can continue to love him unconditionally, which so far I've chosen to do. And there is the danger when you do love someone unconditionally who is not reciprocating, that there could be a lot of hurt, a lot of misunderstandings, and you don't want that either. So it's you really have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for yourself on what the possible scenarios could be when you choose to love someone unconditionally. So I highly recommend that if you are choosing to put yourself out there like that, and I recommend doing it, because loving someone who doesn't deserve it, or who maybe isn't giving you things in return, it is so rewarding. It's such a gift that you as an individual can give another person. It's so pure. And the older I get, the more I realize that instead of, criticizing people, instead of, letting people get under my skin, instead of, taking things personally, I get to exhibit this unconditional love if I choose to. And when you do that, you just need to remember to check in with yourself. Make sure that, especially if this is a relationship, a romantic relationship, or even a friendship, that things maybe are weighted differently as far as effort put in, or however that looks to you. Just make sure that you know how you feel. If you are feeling neglected, resentful, obsessive, any of those feelings that kind of take you out of your balance, sit down with yourself, feel the feelings, figure out in your head, if you need to write down what is the fact, in this situation, and what is the feeling that is corresponding with this fact. That can be a very helpful tool to use to sort of kind of come to an understanding of what's really going on with that mind-heart connection. And if you're feeling resentful, if you're feeling those difficult and undesirable feelings, then you have to make a choice. You have to, if it is appropriate, if you want to do it, talk to the person. There's never anything wrong with speaking your truth. Speaking it in love, of course, because people don't particularly respond well to being accused or having fingers pointed at them, or, you do have to do it in a safe and loving way. That'll get you the best result anyway. And then, if you can have an honest conversation, then maybe you can let go of some of the resentment, because you might realize that, well, the other person is sort of feeling the same way, but they have a trauma response. They have walls built up that really don't let them express themselves the way that you are able to express yourself. So having those conversations, and they can be very difficult, but having those conversations can open your eyes a little bit to what's really going on. It could be very likely miscommunications, or it could really be that you are just coming from two very different outlooks. If you want to go slowly but build this relationship into, a long-term, committed, exclusive relationship, and this person over here is looking at this relationship as, we're having fun right now, and tomorrow, if it's not fun anymore, I'm going to walk away. That's probably the time to, maybe let them walk away, or you walk away, take away the opportunity. Because when you love someone else unconditionally, through those things, knowing that you're ultimately not going in the same direction, you likely will hurt yourself. You likely will have that resentment, be disappointed, have all these potentially negative, harmful side effects. So, in addition to, it's easy to love your dog unconditionally, pretty easy to love your kids unconditionally, can be quite easy to love your parents unconditionally. And when things are good, it's easy to love your partner unconditionally. But the person that we neglect the most to love unconditionally is ourselves. We are hardest on ourselves. We are more self-critical than we criticize ourselves more than we criticize anyone else. And I almost guarantee you that even if you have a really positive, good mindset, there are those thoughts that run through your head from time to time that say, why are you such an idiot? Or why did you do that? Or, things that are not helpful, things that you wouldn't say to someone that you loved. And when you love yourself unconditionally, you have to be able to look in the mirror and say, you know what? Sometimes I fuck up big time, and I love myself anyway. We have this beautiful opportunity every morning to kind of start fresh. Every day is a new day. Every day is ripe with possibilities and opportunities, and we dictate how that goes. So sometimes we can get lost in the fact that I'm loving everybody else unconditionally, but neglecting myself. And ultimately, that old saying is true. You can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. Not truly. So I encourage you to, when you are feeling some of these when you want to love someone unconditionally, or you want to get it back in return and you're not getting it, I really encourage you to go to your heart. Go to your mind, go to your heart, get centered, get grounded, and really search yourself and ask, is there anything that I am doing to me that is making me not love myself unconditionally? Because that will help you in every other aspect, every other relationship. When you have a good, solid, authentic relationship with yourself, loving, understanding, forgiving, you are set. You've got such a foundation to be able to love others that way. So this one's going to be a little shorter today because I tend to ramble, as you well know. And unconditional love is just, it really is. It's such a beautiful thing. It takes the feeling, those loving feelings, and turns it into actions. And so just a simple way for me to kind of wrap my head around it is that unconditional love is showing someone, acting like I love someone, even if my feelings don't match that. If I'm, I was married for a long time, and even when I was kind of pissed at my husband, or I didn't like him always as a person, I still did loving things for him. I still, wanted the best for him. I still tried to support him in his work. I still, whatever I did, and vice versa. I'm not saying that he didn't reciprocate that too, because he did. But that is the beauty, the real joy of unconditional love, is that I can say, I don't really feel like being a nice person today because people in general kind of are rubbing me the wrong way. But I can go out into the grocery store and I can smile and say hi, and I can show the loving part of me. Whether, people could flip me off and I could still smile. So it's just a real, it's so empowering, so freeing to be able to show love without the expectation of something in return. It's very liberating. And although like I said before, there are really fine lines. You don't want to get yourself into a situation where you are feeling resentful or hurt or knocked around. You do need to take care of yourself too. And if you're loving yourself unconditionally, it is going to be easier to see where you can do that in a healthy way for those around you. So with that, I'm gonna say goodbye. It's the beginning of March. It's very cold in Alaska, but sunny and beautiful, and I am looking forward to brighter and warmer days somewhere in the near future, hopefully. And until next time, have a wonderful weekend. Wake up, be grateful, and live a life of love. Alrighty, bye-bye.